Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. This morning with me, I have Crystal. Crystal actually helps people get into college, believe it or not, with helping them find scholarships. And so without further ado, I'm going to let Crystal take it away.
Awesome. Thank you for having me as a guest. I'm happy to be here, share my knowledge, and serve your audience.
Well, thank you. And now my first question is, how did you get into all this?
Great question. I originally was on the path doing everything right. Went to school, got good grades, went to a good college, graduated, got a great job, climbing up the corporate ladder, and unfortunately the economy changed and I was laid off. And I had a college professor who was really encouraging me to start looking at a new career path and was encouraging me to help families afford college. And that's how I got started, was with a blog.
Well, my God. So, okay. Now we have the college student who's going into their freshman year, or at any college, okay, or a college student who's even going into their sophomore year this year. And so what do you say to those freshmen, and then what do you say to those sophomores who are looking for financial aid? Because I know FAFSA can do it. I know that I have the Pell Grant set up for myself. I'm actually going back to school in September to pursue a degree in fashion journalism, my associate's degree finally. And so I have the Pell Grant set up for myself. I also have another grant set up. I also have a Stafford loan set up. But for those who are just getting into this, what would you recommend?
Definitely start talking about what your goals are, because there are a lot of scholarships out there. And, I mean, people should be applying as early as junior high school before they even get into college, and then throughout college.
Oh, wow. My God.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that. God.
Mm-hmm.
So people should start applying as early as sophomores in high school. Gee, I didn't realize that.
Right, and that's why this topic is so important, because there's so many organizations that want to give money, and people tend to think, oh, I can only do it like I'm a senior in high school, and that's not the case. There's organizations that also give a lot of money while people are continuing throughout college, and, you know, even as they're getting ready to graduate with their first degree and move onward to their second degree. And that's why I think this conversation is so important. People just need to know that it's possible. So they'll go ask questions and seek the answers.
So people need to start seeking the answers. I do know this, that my thrift store in Aspen, Colorado, does a great deal of scholarships to the graduating classes of high school, or local high school up here. And so I know that the Rotary Club also gives scholarships. So that's why you guys need to start asking the Rotary Clubs of the your areas what scholarships, because Google can't tell you that. Google can only tell you about FAFSA, and Google can only tell you about certain scholarships. I know they can tell you about FAFSA, which is United States Education federal government loan, but federal government grant, but they can't necessarily tell you about the Rotary Club or the Lions Club or you get what I mean. They can't necessarily tell you, Google can't necessarily tell you that So you guys need to start pounding the pavement in high school to get these scholarships.
Yes, and I just want to add on that a lot of organizations don't, or should I say, choose not to put information on the internet. So, for example, I was just talking to my college roommate, and she's involved in scholarships for a Rotary Club, and she was just telling me that, you know, on the application when they post it, it says they have one scholarship. But the reality is they will fund that one person for 4 years of college, even though they choose not to advertise it. And the reason being is they want to reward good behavior. If someone's a go-getter and they're applying for a scholarship, then once they win it, they say, keep in contact with us. You know, let us know how you're doing, making sure that we're keeping up your grades, and the scholarship will renew. But they don't want to advertise that because then they feel like if someone wasn't willing to do the work for one, why would they be willing to do the work for all the others? And it just kind of clogs everything up by having a bunch of people applying who wouldn't apply otherwise.
Well, isn't that an interesting tip? So if you go to the Rotary Club, any Rotary Club, and just fill out the application, you might have to do a little bit more investigational work than what they're telling you.
Right. And they really are looking for people who have given to the community or who are really looking to better themselves. And so sometimes when organizations like that advertise scholarships, sometimes they feel like they might attract people who are only in it for the money. And so for them, it's kind of hard to tell who really deserves it versus people who are go-getters and reach out and are involved in the community activities. Then they say, oh, okay, you know, they get to know them through the community activities or through their meetings, and then they're happy to tell them about, you know, here's something that we offer.
And sometimes secret sources can pay for scholarships too. I know, because I have a disability, I know that Voc Rehab, which I didn't know this until the summer, I actually got involved with my Voc Rehab, and all I wanted, because I had the Pell Grants and the staff and loans set up already, all I wanted was assistive technology. Well, unbeknownst to me, they said, we may be able to pay for your program. So that's what I'm working on right now as we speak. But all you have to do is ask. All you have to do is ask. Google's wonderful. The University of Google is wonderful, but asking is even more wonderful because you may not know who can support you in your scholarship needs.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I encourage families to talk about it because, like, even in my own family, I'll give you a great example. I was talking about my cousin who was, you know, she was getting ready to go to college. And because we were having these conversations at our family gatherings, my aunt sent her a letter with a little clipping about a scholarship. Because what happens is a lot of the newsletters and organizations, especially things like credit unions or certain places for work. My aunt happened to work for PG&E, which is a utility company in California, and they had a newsletter and had a little section about scholarships they offer and how they're giving back to the community. And it's a great opportunity because if you're talking at a family event and someone knows where your child is going or what they're doing or what kind of career they're interested in, and people see that, they want to help. They know college is expensive. And so a lot of times they'll take, 2 minutes to cut something out of a newsletter, send it in an envelope and mail it to you or hand it to you the next time they see you. And that's all work. Those are all scholarships you can find without the help of Google. Google's great for the things that it does, but not everything's on Google.
They could email it to you too. And as Crystal just said, not everything's on Google. I mean, I didn't realize as I said, I didn't realize that rehab could potentially pay for programs, and we are going to see what they can do. If they can offer funding, I understand, but at least I asked, or at least I came up with it. And so just ask. And even the school you're applying to may have their own scholarship program. I know my school, and they tried to convince me to do this, has a grant within the school only for the summers, though, and I didn't want to take summer classes, so I turned that down because I had everything all set up. But next summer, if the grant comes around again, I'm going to seriously consider it. And by the way, I'm going to the Academy of Arts in San Francisco online. So look at these small colleges, and look at the big ones too, and ask them, do you have any internal scholarships that you're willing to give my child or my daughter who's going back to school, or anyone who's going back to school? Because a lot of companies require that you further your education, and unfortunately, a lot of companies don't pay for it. Some do, some don't. But those who do, you're lucky. But a lot of companies, like schools, don't pay for extended education and extended learning.
Absolutely. And a lot of companies do offer scholarships as a benefit for their children. So even parents who are working might want to think about talking to their employers and seeing if that's a benefit they offer to them as an employee.
Could you give us some examples of companies that may do that?
They're constantly changing year to year, so that's a little challenging. But what I like to do is I like to look in the news, like for PR. Companies are always talking about how much money they gave away to their employees. There's some really good companies that reinvest in their employees, like UPS, and it's easy to see on their website where if people want to go to school, they'll help with college reimbursement from that standpoint. So sometimes it helps if someone wants to work and then offer that. Those are typically larger amounts versus if a company, I've seen in the past companies like Best Buy offer a scholarship, and even KFC offer a scholarship for, like, if your child is going to college, they'll offer you that benefit. What ends up happening is they'll restructure their programs once they get to better understand who they're serving, or they start asking questions. And so these programs are always changing when it comes to the larger companies, and a lot of it might have to do with their profit and how much money they have one year versus another year, versus organizations that are like nonprofit, like Rotaries. They don't have those same challenges. A lot of times the money they raise comes from fundraisers, or they have money sitting in an account because they didn't give it away to anybody, like no one won the scholarship. So they'll have money sitting there, and they'll either offer more scholarships or they'll increase the amount of scholarships there are to offer.
Isn't that interesting? And what I'm coming to find out is it's not all about FAFSA. I just thought it was at one point. But FAFSA, you can go further than FAFSA. You can get your all 4 years covered by different entities.
I like FAFSA as a good starting point because they do offer a lot of money. It is need-based. And so I know sometimes for the middle class that can be really challenging, especially if, both the husband and wife are working, they may not meet the qualifications. there are some things that you can do to legally move money around so that you do qualify for needs-based. And that's something, we don't have much time to talk about that here today, but, that's a great starting point, and then to supplement it with scholarships from other organizations, which also has multiple benefits in terms of not just paying for college, but I really see that students who win scholarships, it boosts their self-esteem, and they feel really proud about themselves. And it's great when you put it on a resume and you go to apply for a job and employers see that, oh, you won money from someone. It's very much adds a lot of credibility, and there's a very big wow factor to it. So I don't encourage people just to apply for scholarships for the money, but it's really a growth opportunity that builds your child's self-esteem. And that's why I love helping families afford college and select a relevant career that's fun, fulfilling, and financially rewarding, is because your child is your whole life. You want to not only help pay for college, but make sure they're picking a degree that's going to help them have a career.
Well, it's funny that you say that because my mother, God bless her, convinced me to go into education. The only reason why my mom convinced me to go into education is because of the summer vacation. Now, if she was still alive, I bet she would say to me that you should probably go into a career you're passionate about. If you're not passionate about, let's just say, rocket scientist, don't go into that career because
right.
I don't think my mom understood how tough education was, and I'm surprised I made it to 12 years in education, but I'll be in education for the next 3 years, and then I'm pursuing my degree in fashion journalism from the Academy of Arts, and then I'm going to become a freelance journalist. So if you really are not passionate about your career, but you still need a paycheck, you should kind of look at, okay, these colleges who really focus on the arts, or these colleges who really focus on STEM, or these colleges who really focus on science outside of STEM, and look at the community colleges too, because some are better than others. I know, as a matter of fact, my community college up here really emphasizes nursing. They don't emphasize education as much, but they really emphasize nursing. So if you're really passionate about nursing, look at the community colleges. I mean, we don't have to go grand colleges every single moment we turn around. Community colleges are great too.
Yes, and that's why I really am a big advocate for, it's about understanding what school is going to be a good fit for your child, because your child has talents and abilities, and, not every college is going to be a good fit. So it's really about making sure that the money spent for tuition is spent wisely on a school that's really going to help your child flourish.
Yes. And now, where can people find you, and where can people find the blog, and how can people get a hold of you? And, by the way, Crystal doesn't know this yet, but I think we should have, she's saying, what women's going to come up with. Now, I think we should have at least a 3-part episode. This one will be part 1, but part 2 will be at a different time. Part 3 will be at another time, because as Crystal said earlier, these things are changing all the time. So maybe every single year I invite you back on to talk about what's the latest standards in scholarships, because every single year they change.
Absolutely. I would love to do a 3-part episode. I think this is a great topic. I know I certainly have some questions for you in regards to your insight about people who may be disabled and who are exploring career options, and bringing that into the conversation as well, and what parents, friends, and family can do to support people regardless of what challenges people may have. But people can find me. You can find me on social media either under Crystal Olivarria, which my last name is Olivarria, or you can also find me as Career Conversationalist. I'm on Google, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and that's where I tend to be the most active. But if you want to know more directly about me, I encourage you to go to my website at careerconversationalist.com.
And Crystal, just one more tip for you. I think you need to write a book about this, because I didn't know that you were so into this and helping people with colleges. And so, yes, go ahead and ask me those questions live on air so I can answer them to the best of my abilities.
Okay. I don't know how much time we have for today's call. Is that something you want to plan for the next call? Or how do you
We have as much time as we need.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you were talking a little bit about going to college and some of your challenges. So I was wondering if you would dive in a little deeper and talk about what careers were you thinking about when you were younger, and if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Well, I played teacher, but I like to write. So what I'm now doing is going back to school, as I said, and pursuing my degree in fashion journalism. So I didn't realize that, well, I liked to write when I was younger too. And if I had to do it all over again, I graduated high school in 2006. If I knew what I knew now, I would have gone directly to journalism school.
Nice. Okay. And how is it that you discovered, like, out of all this, I know writing is a huge topic and there's lots of things you can write about, but why did you decide to go into fashion journalism?
Because, and I'm going to say this from the bottom of my heart, when people look at the disabled, first of all, they judge a book by its cover, and they think that people with disabilities don't have the smarts that they do. So I think and know that I'm going to bring a different eye to the fashion journalism world, because a lot of people don't understand how to either communicate with the disabled or help them get dressed or just see them on the runway. I mean, a couple years ago, I believe the New York Times did a piece on a young woman with Down syndrome walking in New York Fashion Week. So that really inspired me to go back to journalism school. And if I can't find any fashion shows to write about, I will just use my professional training now to continue writing my books and doing this podcast.
I find that really interesting because I know there's also a lot of people who are not disabled who also sometimes feel like they're not very smart and or they don't learn quickly, or people judge them as well. So I just think it's really interesting to see how, experiences that you have, sometimes other people may be able to relate, even if they don't have the same physical symptoms or the same thing that you were born with. They still experience the same feelings and the same emotions. And that's why I think it's a good idea that people listen to podcast and read your book, because they're going through the same emotional journey that you've already been through, and you're leading them coming out on top or coming out ahead.
And someone said to me yesterday, I should really write a business-focused book on having a business and having cerebral palsy, which I think is going to be in my near future. And I'm also in the process of writing a book about me becoming a journalist with CT, so that people can see if I can do it, they can do it. Now, then I would have adaptive technology skill and have all this stuff to help me. But as long as you focus on your visions, you can do anything. And I think what Crystal was trying to say is what career opportunities were for the disabled. Were you trying to say that, Crystal, in the middle of the interview?
Well, see, it's always a little challenging, so I'm not sure what's, like, politically correct to say regarding being abled and disabled. I know in the conversation I've had with
disabilities
people,
is politically incorrect.
So to give you a little bit of background, I have in college my roommate is disabled. She's considered legally blind. And so I hear a lot of funny stories about people not knowing how to ask questions or how to approach her with things or assuming things. And so, like, in my conversations with her, to me, she's not disabled because there's so many things she can do. But other people categorize her as that. And so the lines really blur about, like, people who are physically disabled in one area can do things in other areas. So to me, I don't see them as disabled. She just has strengths and weaknesses, and there's some things she can't do very well, and she excels in other things. And so I know that for a long time she was encouraged to just get a paycheck, like a disability check, rather than work. And so for her, she got really mad because she was encouraged to go through college, get a degree, and then not work and collect a disability check. And she's like, well, why did I go to college and work really hard? So I've kind of been wondering, like, did you go through something similar? How did you handle it? What happened?
I was lucky enough to have people around me, and I still am lucky enough to have people around me that support me and support my dreams. But I had a similar situation. I won in 2000 and from 2006 to 2009, I had the boss from hell, basically. The boss from hell. I was in the public school setting and had boss from hell. Now, not so much anymore, but I thought I was going to quit my job. Actually, I lost my job in 2009 when the economy tanked. But it wasn't for the economy reasons. It was for totally different reasons. But I thought at one point I was going to become a solo entrepreneur. But I never had anyone tell me you should get a degree and not use it. I always had people tell me, get a degree, use it, and then if you don't like it, you can go back and pursue your dreams.
Interesting.
So to each their own, but I'm surprised they told your college roommate that. I'm surprised whoever said that needs to go jump in the lake, because that's a lot of the perceptions of the disabled is that we use the system and don't work.
Yes, and I think that was a lot of people didn't really understand. Again, it goes back to having a conversation. They're like, okay, well, if she can't see, she can't drive, she can't go to work. so she might as well just stay at home. And for her, she's like, no, there's paratransit. She has really good relationships with people, so they're willing to arrange to pick her up or drop her off. If she has a doctor's appointment, like there's other public transportation, there's other things that she can do to get around, especially as technology evolves and we have Lyft and Uber. But if people aren't having these conversations, again, they don't know what's possible.
No, and if people are not having these conversations, we could do a whole episode on college and being disabled, and then we can do a whole episode on jobs, too. That's a whole episode in itself. And so, we could, let's actually do that. Crystal, let's make part 2, college and being disabled, and then finding a job. And then finding a job, because that's a whole episode in itself. And I don't know how you want to schedule that, but that's a whole episode in itself about finding a job and being an equal opportunity employer. My God, there's less equal opportunity employers than you think. With my vote we have, and I'm saying this live because I want to be clear that now I am one of 80 patients on working with folks rehab, which that's just shocking me. And that's also sad that when I asked my folks rehab coach, I said, how can I help you? She goes, gulp. I never get that answer in my life. And she goes, oh, seriously, think about that. But we have to talk about equal opportunity in the players and going to college and then seeing if the college can find you a job in the next couple weeks or maybe in the next couple of years, that Krista, you and I will be back on the podcast, because what I've been told is a lot of these colleges, especially mine now, will, because they're so focused on the arts, will come and recruiters will come and talk to these college students about coming to work for their company.
Yeah, and I think this is a great conversation, because the reason people go to college is they want to eventually have a career. Like, yes, it's great you want to expand as a person, but you don't spend, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 or more just to have your life enriched. You can go to the movies, you can hang out with friends, there's other activities, you can travel for a lot less money than the cost of college. So you go to college with an outcome, and that outcome is to have a career or to get a job and get started. And I think that these are all great topics that all revolve around how do you afford it, how do you select a relevant career, and how do you get a job.
Well, today we started off how do you afford it. The next episode, whenever Crystal wants to schedule, will be how do you go to college with a disability. And then the final episode of this episode, 3-part episode, will be how do you find a relevant career. And hopefully by that time, I will be a freelance journalist, so we hope. I will keep you guys updated on that. But it's been a wonderful conversation with you, Crystal, and I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous conversation here on Butterflies of Wisdom, and we'll have Crystal's information in the show notes, and I can even, if you guys contact me, I can even give you a contact email address to contact Crystal, and if she's nice enough, she would probably facilitate phone calls from you guys. If you have more questions for Crystal, I can give you contact information. But as she said, contact us through the website, because she's a wealth of knowledge, and I think this goes for all of us disabled or not, we need to start having these open conversations about colleges and not hiding it, and get these kids who are disabled in relevant and careers that they enjoy, and that's my PSA for right now. And so if you guys want to work with a job coach and you're a solo entrepreneur, do so. Call your local book. You've heard me preach about this before. And so, Crystal, what are your closing thoughts for this part one of this episode?
I just want to thank you for having me as a guest and for everybody being willing to listen to talk about this important conversation and the dialogue we're having. I'd absolutely love to come back to be a guest, and we can talk about the time after the recording's ended. But just keep going, keep having a conversation, keep tuning in, send in your questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'm here to serve. And I know Wynn really cares about you because she had me on a guest. So thank you so much, and I look forward to us talking again soon.
Well, thank you. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. This episode has been sponsored by Grace by Grit. Grace by Grit is a clothing line out in California, and they're giving you guys 20% off when you type in the code EXO Butterflies. And I will see you guys later, and I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. Thanks, you guys.
Okay, are we good to talk? Hello? Hello? Hello?